This episode is my Vampire Diaries villain origin story, and ironically, it is also his. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So sorry that I missed last week. It was my birthday and Thanksgiving, and we had 3 different Thanksgiving celebrations this year last week, so very intense holiday week. But I hope you guys had a good time. If you celebrate, let me know down below how your holiday weekend was. I hope it was a good one. I'm also gearing up to travel again right now, so it's just a very chaotic fall. I feel like 2023 as a year has just been very intense. Anybody else feel that way? But we are getting closer and closer to the end of season 6, which is, I'm not excited. I don't want to lie to you guys. I don't want to. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any videos in this series. And with that being said, let's get into today's gossip session. All right, so we open right up with Miss Caroline Forbes emotionless at the bar, flirting with the bartender. And by flirting, I mean deeply bullying him. Just goth Barbie on steroids, okay? She's so scary. Liam shows up and he's like, Caroline Forbes, the girl from the bonfire. And she's like, Liam, the boy I totally forgot existed. Me too, girl. I thought we got rid of him on Thanksgiving, but no, he's back again. She tries to hook up with him, but he can tell something's off, so he kind of is like, not about it. Then he suddenly is about it. They end up making out outside. She flashes her vampire face at him. He's like, whoa, Caroline, what's going on with your eyeballs? And she's like, be quiet, Liam, and she attacks him. Elena finds the dorm room empty of all of Caroline's stuff, and she's like, Stefan, Caroline is gone. What's happened? Stefan, meanwhile, is in Mystic Falls looking at an empty Forbes household, and he's like, Elena, I don't know. We have to find her. He's being super bitchy because he blames himself for all of this, because of course he does. He's like, if I would have just found her before she made this decision, I could have fixed it. Like, okay, buddy, maybe, but it's not all about you. Bonnie shows up at the dorm to say hello to Elena. Hard cut to the Salvatore crypt. You're never gonna guess who's teamed up for this episode. Damon and Kai. And they are together while Damon is like opening up his mom's grave. They framed this shot with Kai standing at the door to the crypt, and there's like sunlight streaming in behind him, and it's like refracting, like there's just like light beams, and he's standing in them, and as he moves, they like hit his face. Did you not want us to love him? I have a lot of questions here. Why was this shot framed the way it was? I'm thankful, don't get me wrong, but what was the point? This is also the episode where he wears the long coat in this picture that I love so much. It's like a long black coat and it's like fitted and it's got a high collar on it. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to control myself? Like, the costume team conspired against me, the lighting team conspired against me, the camera people, they all wanted me to fall for him. It was a personal attack. I was unable to resist. So yeah, they're digging up the body. Damon is digging up the body. Kai is not helping. He's just looking cute over behind Damon, standing in the light beams, all right? Damon's digging up the body because he wants to open the coffin and make sure the body is there, and that will prove that his mother died in 1858, even though Kai is like, you're being kind of dumb because Bonnie saw her alive and well in the 1903 prison world, so we need to learn how to accept things, Damon. Damon's like, there's no way that she could look like that in 1903 and like she hasn't aged. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And Kai's like, buddy, are you suddenly stupid? Like, clearly she was probably a vampire. And Damon is like, no, she wasn't. There's no way. I know my own mother. And Kai's like, I touched a nerve. I'm so sorry. He opens up the coffin and a big shocker to no one, it's empty. So Kai's like, congratulations. Everything you thought you knew about your mom was wrong. Enzo's over at the college bar letting Sarah be sneaky and take pictures of him. He's like showing her his like vamp eyes and stuff, and she's all like, oh my god, down below him, because remember the bar has a balcony on it, so he's like up above her, she's sitting down here like sneaking up on him as if it's not all planned. Bonnie is settling into the dorm room, but she's super jumpy. Like Elena pops a bottle of champagne behind her and she jumps as if somebody's like attacked her. And it's definitely harder for her than anything we saw from Damon and Kai, okay? Because Kai at the time, no emotions. So he was just kind of vibing, all right? Nothing mattered to him. Damon was so torn up about what was going on with Stefan and Elena that he didn't really have time to like worry about himself. And also I think because he's older, he's been through stuff already. Like we got to remember the original Mystic Falls gang, they're basically still kids, okay? They are very young. I don't think any of them are even 20 yet, all right? So Bonnie's just not adjusting well to being back in the real world. She also doesn't want to tell Jeremy that she's back. She's kind of just decided to like let him go and like let him start over and have his life. And Elena's like, you really need to at least call him though. And Bonnie's like, I'll get around to it. I just don't want to worry him. I don't want to make him feel like he has to come back. Caroline comes steamrolling in with bags of stuff. She basically just threw all of her stuff away, bought everything new, and now she's like starting over. She's talking, not paying attention. And then suddenly she turns around and she's like, Bonnie, you're back. Wild. Wasn't expecting to see you here, but like could give two shits. Doesn't hug her, nothing, because she's emotionless right now. She tells them about how she nearly killed Liam, but she stopped herself, so he's still alive. She's basically come to this decision where she's like, I want a year. I want to be emotionless and live my life and do whatever I want to do in order to grieve. And as long as I promise not to kill anybody and hold myself to that, I need you guys to leave me alone and let me do what I want. If you don't, and you try anything to force me to turn my humanity back on, I'll become your worst nightmare. Stefan calls to update Damon, and then once again in the background of Damon's shots, Kai is just like at the house hanging out, and he's like knocking something over. I think he like knocks over a vase or a statue or something. That's gonna become a bit, funnily enough. It's just gonna be a thing he does. He's clumsy. Damon has decided not to tell Stefan right away about the fact that their mom might or might not be in a prison world alive, because if she's in a prison world, she's evil, and he doesn't want to drop that bomb on Stefan. Kai says he can send Damon in to see his mom and meet her and find out what the heck's going on, since he's the new leader of the Gemini Coven and everything, and he's got the Ascendant. But in exchange for helping him, Kai wants Damon to like orchestrate a meeting between him and Bonnie because he desperately wants to apologize to her, and she is avoiding him like he is straight up the plague. Like she wants nothing to do with him. Enzo and Sarah are now having drinks with each other at the bar, but so far he's only given her his name. She threatens to show off the pictures that she took of him if he doesn't tell her more about being a vampire and like what the whole point of it is. So he snatches the card, breaks it in half, and is like, I'm very fast and very strong. She has a little like, but what are you though moment. And Enzo's kind of like, girl, are you dumb? I'm a vampire. You blind? She is so truly unimpressed by this fact. Like she literally is just like, oh, that's it? Like that? No, I just thought it would be cooler. I thought like maybe, I don't know, like a werewolf or something. Like, and Enzo was just like, rude. Caroline walks over to them and she's like, Enzo, what are you doing playing around with Stefan's relative? But before she can like tell Sarah anything, he sends Sarah away. So now he's just talking to Caroline. He realizes that her emotions are off and he's like, Blondie, why would you do that? That's a terrible choice. I hate this for you. She couldn't care less what he thinks about her decisions or seeing him in general, even though remember just a little while ago they were friends. That's sort of tapered off, but they still have like a decent relationship with each other. So she invites him to a party. Then we get a short little moment of Stefan checking on Liam to make sure he doesn't remember anything about Caroline, but her story was accurate. She fed on him, but she also took his memories, so he doesn't remember any of it and he's fine, like no harm done. And then Liam also invites Stefan to the party. Bonnie and Elena go to the rave to look for Caroline. Remember when I said Bonnie jumped when she was like near the champagne bottle opening? I'm not sure why they thought a rave was a good place for her right now. It definitely wasn't. Elena finds Caroline first. She's dancing with this guy, having the time of her life. And when she sees Elena, she like threatens to bite the guy, like with her vamp face. And Elena is like, but then Caroline goes, I'm fine. And Elena's like, okay, if you mean it, like, I hope you're telling the truth. Like, she's fine. She's Caroline Forbes. If anybody can handle this, It's this bitch right here. Bonnie gets yanked onto the dance floor by this guy, and he's very pushy with her, even though she's like, let me go, I don't want to dance with you. He like grabs on her anyway, and she's like, dude, get off of me. And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. You're just so hot. Then he like reaches for her again. She puts her hand on his arm and just like freaking molten lava burns his hand. And he's like, oh, what was that? What did you do? And she's like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I'm so hot. Iconic move by Miss Bennett. I can't stress this enough. Stefan is emo over the fact that like this is his fault and he did this to Caroline, okay? So he's like groveling with her, trying to flirt and do anything to like get her to hang out with him so that he can stay close to her, so that hopefully maybe he can help fix it. Right after she's just burned this guy's hand, Damon calls Bonnie. She's so happy to hear from him. They get in this little cute bantery moment. Their friendship is very much like bullying each other, but like deep affection. Like they're kind of sibling-esque, at least right now. We'll come back to it, but like right now they're kind of like sibling vibes. He can tell something's wrong with her, and so he's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she owns up about the fact that being back is like super hard for her. He agrees with her and is like, yeah, well, you know, when I came back, Elaine had forgotten she was in love with me. So that was a fun little time period, but you'll be fine. Like, we'll help you. You're gonna be okay. And then he's like, hey, so you know how you hate Kai Parker? Funnily enough, he merged with his sweet baby brother Luke, and now he went from being a sociopathic caterpillar to a slightly less evil butterfly. She interrupts him and she's like, anybody who believes that is an idiot. I never even want to hear his name again. And Damon is like, oh, got it. Never mind. We don't have to talk about him. Kai who? I don't know. He's gone. We go to a scene then of Damon explaining to Kai that Bonnie's not going to see him. Kai does not take that well. He's like, that sucks, man, because I had a super strong lead on the 1903 Ascendant, okay? Lily's story, your mom was wild. He says she was captured in 1903 on a dock in New York, and maybe she was like coming back for Damon since she'd been in Europe. Damon's like, where? What was she doing in Europe? And Kai just goes, sorry, my throat just got like really sore all of a sudden. Damon's like, oh my God, are you really not gonna tell me? And Kai's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go get a lozenge. But maybe Bonnie will have changed her mind by the time I find one. As I said, Stefan's trying to get flirty with Caroline. He's like drinking shots with her, trying to bond, but she's on to him. And she knows he's only there because he feels guilty. He bulldozes on anyway and is like, no, actually I do like you. I just got scared and I said the wrong thing and I made a mistake and I'm sorry. He begs her to let the emotions back in and says that he will be with her through it. And if she will just let him help her, he will do whatever she needs. She leans into his touch and then panics and is like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, and runs away. We follow her while she's running from Stefan. She finds Liam and she's like, Liam, how good are you at surgery? And he's like, I'm a second-year med student, not very good at all. And she's like, oh, wonderful. And she snatches him. Damon finds Bonnie at the rave. She is clearly unwell, okay? I think at this point she is still like crouched down in the little hallway trying to breathe because it's too loud. He sees her and goes, okay, listen, don't freak out. Then he sort of backs away and Kai walks into the end of the hallway. So not only is he in front of her all of a sudden, but he's in the intimidating black coat and he's blocking the exit. I don't know what Damon was thinking, okay? He wasn't. So Bonnie is standing there like, Damon, what is this? What is going on? And I'm gonna be so real with you. Kai looks like he's about to puke. Like he is literally just like stuttering and stumbling over his words. He can hardly look at her. Like he clearly feels absolutely terrible about everything that happened. So nervous, no thoughts, only anxiety. But again, she's ready to bolt and also maybe kill someone. So Kai starts stumbling through an apology for like anything he did that hurt her or caused her pain. And he's like all out of breath and shit. But then while he's talking, all Bonnie can think about is the arrow moment and the car snatching moment and the Thanksgiving stab moment in the yard. So her PTSD is just like raging right now. He finishes and he's like, Bonnie, did you hear what I said? Did you hear me? And she goes, and I quote, if I ever see your face again, I will melt it off, and then pushes past him and leaves. So that went well. Stefan finds Elena and he's like, girly pop, it worked. I am, in fact, Caroline's emotional trigger. I can get her back, bada bing, bada boom. We just need to find her again and I can do it. Elena is like, you let her go? Oh my God, Stefan, she warned us that if we tried anything, i.e. you flirting with her and figuring out that you're her emotional trigger, she would freaking start killing people. So then Caroline calls from Enzo's phone and she's like, you should be asking yourself several things. Why does Enzo have Sarah's number? Or maybe, where is Sarah? And ultimately, probably the most important, Caroline, what are you going to do to her? Sarah comes into the bar where Caroline is because she thought she was meeting Enzo, but it was a fake out. It's Caroline, surprise, not good. Before she hangs up, Caroline tells Stefan that she is going to kill her. Damon, idiot boy that he is, follows Bonnie back to the dorm room where she's just like bubbling over with like righteous rage and also magic. I don't think you should be anywhere near her right now, my guy. I think you should go somewhere else. Damon tries to explain himself, you know, like he should have probably done in the beginning. And so he's like, you don't understand, Bonnie. He knows about my mother and I just needed to do this one thing for him and then he was gonna help me. And she's like, be quiet, Damon. Shut up. She then uses her magic to hurt Damon all the different ways Kai hurt her. So like the arrow through the stomach, the choking, the knife through the stomach, all of that. He did all of that to me and then he left me alone. And now he wants to be nice? No. Now listen, before I say what I'm about to say, I just want you guys to know that Bonnie Bennett is my favorite of the female characters. I think I've said that before, but like she is my top of the girls, okay? The unfortunate thing about being me is that this dude is my top of the boys, okay? So this whole situation gets very complicated. But I will say, just like writing standpoint, I don't love that she puts all of her energy into hating him when they were fighting each other, because what she leaves out and he never really brings up is the fact that she killed him with the pickaxe first. Then he shot her with an arrow to stop them from leaving him behind. Then when she woke up and he had bandaged the arrow wound, she ran away from him again. And how'd she get away from him? She stabbed him in the neck with a pin. So she straight up killed him twice. And then we have the kidnapping moment and the stabbing her on Thanksgiving, okay? So I just don't love the way that it's pitched to us because it's like they were actively fighting. And I guess I just maybe view it differently because they were doing things to each other. They're just actively fighting. They're on two different sides and they're both doing things to each other. And so she's completely valid for being as scarred as she is and all of that. But it becomes very much like he is the reason for everything. And I don't love that. There's also a moment here where she tells Damon, like, and then after everything he did, he left me alone. And I wish I could tell you how that feels. And that whole thing too feels like a weird writing choice because Bonnie spent about 4 months in the prison world, okay? And I'm not saying that that's not terrible, awful, so bad, okay? I know it was traumatizing for her. I can't even fathom what that would feel like. But while she was there, she knew the entire time, my friends are gonna come get me out. Then she had confirmation multiple times that they were actively like trying to communicate with her or physically coming over and trying to get her out. So like she knew they were trying to get to her, okay? She knew she was loved. She knew she wasn't forgotten about. You know who had the exact opposite experience? My bestie right here. He spent 18 years knowing the exact opposite. So I just think for me, I'm always like, Bonnie, honey, perspective. Like you need an active outlet and it doesn't need to be melting his face off. You need something more than that. Because also just like the years she had, like she didn't get any good storylines. It's just always sad. One thing after another for Bonnie Bennett, okay? So again, I guess it's just one of those moments where it's like, who do you think's the good guy? Who do you think's the bad guy? And we're probably gonna have opposing opinions on it. It's okay if you disagree with me. I want to be very clear. I understand where she's coming from, but she is like so broken up and destroyed by all of this that she ends up just like kicking Damon out and telling him to leave her alone. Elena and Stefan get to the bar to find Caroline making margaritas alone. She compelled Liam to take Sarah to the hospital and she's having him perform surgery on her to practice his skills. Elena is like, Caroline, if you do this, you'll regret it forever. Trust me, I've done it. And Caroline's like, I love that you have this super special ability to make anything and everything about you. Caroline's master plan is to make Stefan turn off his emotions too, because while he has them, he can be her emotional trigger and get her back. Stefan says, no, I will not be doing that. So Caroline on the phone with Liam goes full Kai and is just like, okay, Liam, cut out her spleen. Then she turns to Elena and Stefan and she's like, relax, guys. She can live without her spleen. Why is this joke in here twice? What's going on? Liam starts cutting into Sarah. But since Stefan previously had compelled Liam to be honest with him, that compulsion is still under effect. So when Stefan asks where they are, Liam is able to tell him and Elena goes running off to find the kids. Pissed off, Caroline tells Liam to forget the spleen and cut out her heart. Stefan attacks, these two get into a brutal fight, but we don't know what happens to Sarah because the phone gets like taken away from Caroline. Kai comes back over to see Damon and he's like, hey, so I love that you let me apologize to Bonnie. Thank you for that. It went terribly, but I did what I needed to do. I unfortunately cannot bring your mother back to you. We need to leave her in the 1903 prison world. He explains that there were only ever 2 prison worlds, his from 1994 and then Lily's from 1903. Damon slams Kai up against the wall and threatens to eat him if Kai doesn't tell him what he knows. So Kai is like, she's a ripper. Okay, I was trying to save you from that, but if you insist, your mother is a ripper. Turns out she did die in 1858, turned into a vampire, went a little nuts, and went over to Europe and just like killed a ton of people. This woman's got about like 3,000 deaths under her from like 50 years. That's a lot of people. So the Geminis, of course, were like, no, 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 no. We're not putting up with this. And they locked her in the prison world to stop her. Kai's actually being really gentle with Damon while he's telling him all of this, but Damon starts to have like a full-blown meltdown. And so Kai is like, ooh, I can see it would be better if I left the room. And so he just like quietly leaves. And once he's gone and the door shuts, Damon like collapses to the floor. Bonnie calls Jeremy. She tells him that she's back and she misses him, but also she kind of just needs to work on herself right now because she's going through it. And she's a little bit scared of like her magic and what she's capable of. So she's not really ready to see him, but at least she called. And then we have a moment of her like looking at her scars in the mirror. Elena gets to the hospital, but she can't find where Liam and Sarah are. Liam is like cutting off her shirt to get to her heart, and Sarah won't stop screaming, so then he stuffs the shirt in her mouth so he can't hear her because he's like, you're making it worse. Like, I don't have any control over this and you won't shut up. I can't do this if you're yelling at me. He starts to use this like giant bladed saw to cut into her chest. Absolutely not. It's so rough. We cut to Caroline standing over a still very hurt Stefan on the floor of the bar. Sarah stops screaming over the phone and Liam says she passed out. Caroline is like, okay, kill her and call me back when it's done. Stefan's phone rings. Caroline answers it. It's Elena. Elena calls and tells Stefan that she can't find Sarah. So Stefan is like, bring me back. And Elena's like, what are you talking about? Bring you back from where? And he's like, just remember to bring me back, Elena. So he turns off his humanity, y'all, while Caroline is standing there just like giddy and so excited, just demonic little Barbie doll. Elena finds Liam and Sarah. It's a shame she couldn't have done that 10 seconds sooner. She saves Sarah with her blood, but has to break both of Liam's wrists, like in front of us, in order to get him off of her because he won't stop. She calls Stefan back and is like, I saved her, I did it, she's safe. But at the bar, Stefan ain't got no humanity. And he is now drinking a margarita. Elena is like, Stefan, oh my God, tell me you didn't shut it off. Tell me you didn't do it. And Stefan goes, okay, I won't. And he hands the phone to Caroline and Caroline goes, he shut it off. A little fun fact about me. 17 is my favorite number, and it did not come to my attention in all my times of rewatching this show that this episode is episode 17. That just feels like a personal attack, honestly, given what I'm gonna have to get into with you guys right now. Caroline is cleaning up at the bar after her night with Stefan. They like broke stuff and made drinks, so she washed everything and swept the floor and like cleaned up so that nobody knows they were there. Enzo comes in and catches her and he's like, girl, you're not supposed to care about stuff like this. Caroline is like, I don't want people following me. I don't want to give people reason to ask questions about what I'm doing. She's also a drama major and it's time to audition for the musical and she doesn't want to get caught right now. That would be a real bummer and it would screw up the rest of her plans. She fills him in also on like what she did with Sarah and the fact that Stefan's also emotionless now and Enzo is just standing there like, oh no. Stefan comes home to a broody, sad Damon sitting in a chair, like on the landing next to the door. So Stefan opens the door and Damon's just like sitting there like, hello, brother, I've been waiting for you. Stefan asks where they keep the weapons, all nonchalant. Damon flashes over to him and tries to inject him with vervain. So Stefan snaps his arm, and again, we have to look at it. Like, enough with the bone snapping. Stefan says that it would be in his best interest to stay out of his way for the day, and then leaves with a bag of weapons. Sarah wakes up in the hospital to Joe helping her. Bestie girl's back. She's here. They modified Sarah's memories so that she thinks that she got too drunk at a party and then passed out and then got brought in. They're keeping her hidden until Elena's blood's out of her system so that she can't be turned into a vampire. There's a cute moment here where Joe and Rick are talking and she's like, you know, I'm starting to think maybe we should just elope. What if we just leave? What if, Joe? What if you did that? But he assures her that Sarah will be back at Duke soon and it'll all be fine and they don't have anything to worry about. She's like, oh, Duke would be such a cute name for the baby. That's a dog's name, Joe. Absolutely not. He kind of has a moment of just like, oh, are we doing that? Are we keeping the baby? We're keeping the baby, yes. And he's so excited. He also suggests naming the baby Josette as a joke. I'm laughing so hard. We cut to Damon back in the living room at the Salvatore house, just like beating the stuffing out of a leather chair with a crowbar. I'm proud of him though, okay? He's doing whatever he can to keep from slipping into his usual bloodthirsty rage. Elena comes over, she's torn up because not only did they lose Stefan, which is terrible because Stefan is a ripper, they've also lost Caroline, and Caroline is very scary right now. So the two of them together as like an evil little Barbie Ken power couple, nightmare. So he drops the prison world bomb on her and shows her the 1903 footage of Lily and is like, this is my mother, she's alive, also she's a ripper, everything's great, I'm having the best day ever. He then goes on a little rant about how it makes sense that Lily's a ripper because Stefan was such a mama's boy. They actually both were mama's boys. They loved her, she was their whole world. Elena is like, hold on, idea, what if we use her as Stefan's emotional trigger? So Damon goes right to Bonnie and is like, I need your help because we need more than one witch, so you're gonna have to work with Kai to go into the 1903 prison world. We'll get my mom out, and then that way we can ultimately save Stefan and Caroline. She agrees to give him her blood if it will get him to leave her alone, and then they can do the spell with Kai and figure it out on their own. But Damon is like, you know what, Bonnie, I really think you should come with us because I think I might have the answer to all your prayers. We hard cut to Kai having lunch while Bonnie sits with him. He explains that getting the Ascendant to the 1903 world would be super, super hard, and he would have to go through all these ancient texts and decipher all these riddles and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, would you look at that? It's in his pocket. How nice. So he actually started looking when Damon first told him that it happened, so he's got the Ascendant, and because he is so strong and the leader of the Coven, he doesn't even need a celestial event to make it happen. He can just take them whenever. But he will only go if Bonnie will go with him. She says, I would rather die of cholera than spend an afternoon with you. Again with the parallels. You guys remember when Klaus was like, stay for a drink? And Caroline was like, I'd rather die of thirst, but thanks. So this hurts Kai's feelings, and he does what he does best, which is lash out. And he's like, you know, you're much more likely to die from Caroline's hands. I bet it'll be something stupid, like she doesn't do her laundry, you get mad at her, she cuts your tongue out. So Bonnie's like, okay, I get it. We have to save Caroline and Stefan. Fine, we can go together, whatever. We get to see Caroline's audition for the musical. Just another reminder that Candace King can sing. She finishes singing, and the director doesn't say anything though. And she's like, hello, I know I did really good. Did you not hear me? Were you not paying attention? Then his head rolls off, and we see Stefan clapping behind him. He starts making fun of her for being so careful and perfect even when she has her humanity flipped off. She's like, I'm sorry, but your switch is also off, so you shouldn't care about what I'm doing. He says that because he can't control himself the way that she can, he's decided to make it his mission to like ruin her perfect little plan. And he's basically like, I'm gonna be your nightmare because you did this to me and I'm pissed. He just wants to make sure that when they flip their switches back on, they are both equally upset because at this point he's gonna be distraught since he can't stop himself from doing anything, and she's being Little Miss Perfect in control of her actions, so she's not gonna have anything to even feel guilty about, and that's not fair. Kai and Bonnie are packing to go to the 1903 prison world. She's got this buck off huge knife. absolutely ridiculous. Why do you need that, Bonnie? I have questions. You know who doesn't have questions? Kai. He just has jokes. He looks her dead in the eyes and goes, damn, Crocodile Dundee called. He wants his knife back. Like, baby, run. You are not safe. She says his jokes are stupid and then puts her blood on the ascendant so that they can leave. Damon and Elena are also going. Damon was pretty adamant he didn't want her to come, but she insisted and she gets what she wants. So they're all going. So Kai does the spell. They pop over into the 1903 snowing world. Damon and Elena go off to find Lily while Bonnie and Kai have to go look for the ascendant in 1903 because it can't jump worlds. So they have to find the one in the prison world in order to get out. Elena doesn't want to leave Bonnie alone with Kai, but Bonnie is like, no, don't worry. I'll be fine. Okay, he's nice now, remember? Sirens, alarm bells, everything going off in my head. Not in Kai's though. He's behind them, just catching snowflakes on his tongue. No thoughts in that stupid little pretty head of his. Kai turns around from his little snowflake catching moment and he's like, oh my God, Bonnie, you finally believe me? Like, that's such good news. And she's like, shut up. I was lying because Damon and Elena need to go find his mom on their own. We need to go. And she just like storms off and he follows her. Stefan goes to hop on his motorcycle and it falls apart beneath him. Caroline comes out laughing at him, but he turns on her and is like, this is the best you got. I ripped off your directing teacher's head. You unbolted my bike. I can just put it back together. This is the best you got. So then she punches a hole in the gas tank. Rick calls Joe with more ideas on baby names, and she tells him that on second thought, anybody named Alaric shouldn't be allowed to name another human. Again, with the Alaric slander, I like his name. Is that just me? Do I just read too much fantasy? I like it. Enzo comes in to see Rick and asks if he has enough for Vane to get Caroline and Stefan safely to the Salvatore cellar. Rick is initially like, my buddy, my pal, I have a pregnant fiance, okay? I'm a simple human now. I will no longer be getting involved with the vampire hunting escapades. And Enzo is like, oh, so you're boring. You got your girl pregnant, now you're lame. Okay. And Rick gives in because he is but a man. Elena is shook to her core to be wandering around the 1903 house, which is the one that Damon grew up in with Stefan. They look at baby pictures, which is kind of cute because like Lily still had them up in her home. She didn't put them away or anything, but it's clearly kind of painful for Damon. He's really worried about bringing her home and he doesn't want to get attached to her because he's like, she left us. Like she was alive from 1858 to 1903 and she never came back for us. Lily shows up and Damon turns around and sees her and he goes, hello, mother, in the hello, brother voice. That was good writing. That was a good, they saw that opportunity and they snatched it up. So Lily's been in the prison world for over a century. Bonnie's having panic attacks at 4 months and we know what happened to Kai after 18 years. So I'm nervous, but Damon is just like, sorry I didn't visit sooner, Mom. I thought you were dead. She says she did die in 1858, but then a nurse in the TB ward had given her blood to heal her, so she turned. It's also Halloween in her world, y'all. Love that for her. All she can remember is arriving at New York Harbor, seeing the Northern Lights, and then getting snickety snatched by the coven when she stepped off the boat. She has like collected all the blood that she can possibly collect from the area, and she's having 2 drops a week just to like stay awake. But also she seems really at peace and like super settled and chill, which is very unnerving. Caroline is doing homework at the dorm. Stefan comes over to bug her again. This time he brings like a grenade. It's like a Molotov cocktail grenade situation and he blows it up in the dorm. He also starts attacking her and it gets weirdly sexual very quickly. Y'all need to get it together. We cut back to Bonnie and Kai. He is now giving her his blood so that she can do a locator spell. And he's like putting it into her hands and he's looking at her hands and he goes, you have really nice palms. And she's like, don't talk to me. So she closes her eyes and starts doing the spell. And he can't be quiet to save his life. So he starts rambling and he's like, do you know why I'm here? Because my guilt keeps me up at night. I don't expect you to believe me, but I need you to give me one more chance. She ignores him completely and continues doing the spell. So he snaps a little bit and snatches her hand and is like, Bonnie, listen to me. She looks up at him and she's like, you grabbed my arm. What's wrong with you? And he immediately, he's already let go of her when the camera like pans down to where their arms are. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I take it back. And she's like, but you did do it. Because even if you're telling the truth now, the old you is still inside you. Then she stalks off to get the Ascendant and just leaves him standing there, like, sick to his stomach. Damon tells his mom that they only came for her because they need to bring her back so that she can save Stefan because he's a Ripper too, and his emotions are off, and they need her to help with that. And she's like, absolutely no problem. I have no issues with doing that. Let me alert my traveling companions. And Damon is like, you're traveling what now? Ooh, y'all are not prepared. As much as I hate this episode, I'm all for this right here. So Lily takes Damon and Elena into like a little storage room under the house where she's got 6 desiccated vampires sitting around a table. She goes, everyone, meet my son Damon. He's here to take us home. Sorry, what? Dumb and Dumber, also known as Enzo and Rick, have gotten weapons from Rick's apartment, and now they're going after Stefan and Caroline. Also, Enzo is helping because he feels bad about hurting Stefan while Stefan doesn't have his emotions on. He says that the revenge is only fun if Stefan cares. While dragging Stefan's unconscious body out of the dorm, Caroline gets caught by another student who's home because she's an athlete. Accurate depiction of being at college. But Stefan gets up and attacks the girl before Caroline can send her to her room. She starts to yell at him and they get into another fight, but then all of a sudden Stefan is like, quiet. The idiot duo comes strolling into the dorm. What do you know? Stefan left another bomb. It explodes, and all we see is Enzo like grabbing Rick and like running to the side. But we don't know if they got away. Back to Lily with her creepy little vampire dollhouse. She explains that she's always traveled with these vampires and they saved her from being a Ripper. They sacrificed their rations for her, so she learned how to control her bloodlust, because if she didn't, she would have blown through all the blood and she wouldn't have enough to undesiccate them when it was time to leave. Damon is like horrified by this whole situation, and Elena is like, I think it's kind of cute. She feels responsible for them and she doesn't want to leave them behind. Then Elena finds the Ascendant on the table with the 6 vampires. And she's like, if this is here, why isn't Bonnie here? The locator spell should have led them here. And Damon goes, because Bonnie isn't looking for the Ascendant, Elena. Yay! I love that information. Thanks for confirming it, Damon. We go back to Kai and Bonnie. They are now just in the middle of the woods. He's so dumb. Like, first rule, my guy, you never let them take you to a secondary location. Do you know nothing? So Bonnie's just walking along and she's like, the Ascendant's right up here. Like, we should be on top of it any second now. And Kai is just like, seems a little sus, but whatever. Also, Bonnie, if you don't think I'm capable of change, why'd you agree to spend a whole day with me? Like, why did you come all the way out into the middle of the woods with me? I could just gut you all over again and your friends would never even hear you scream. Stop talking. But Bonnie is like, maybe it's because you're right. And deep down, there's a part of me that believes that there's still a sliver of good in you. Kai starts to laugh and he's like, oh, well, then you'd be right. I've been trying to tell you. And then his idiot ass turns his back on her and keeps walking into the woods. So she pulls out that giant red flag of a knife and stabs him in the back with it. And then when he falls over on the ground, she stabs him in the back of the thigh so that he can't run. He rolls over and he's like, Bonnie, what are you doing? She goes, gaining your trust and then stabbing you in the back? It hurts, doesn't it? He begs her to stop and she's like, what? You don't want me to leave you here all alone? I almost killed myself because of you. He goes, Bonnie, please, believe me, I've changed. She says, I know. But so have I. And then she just brings the knife up over her head and goes to just stab him in the chest. But he's a Parker, so my boy turns invisible and gets away. Like, I remember vividly where I was the first time I saw this scene. And again, remember, favorite. I was distraught. I had to pause and take a break. I was like, I don't think I can handle this. So Enzo and Rick are still alive. The Molotov cocktail did not kill them. However, Stefan does want to go ahead and just kill them to send a message to Damon. But Caroline stops him because, again, she's still a little rational and decent. So Stefan snatches that poor girl back from her dorm room where she's been hiding, and he again gets weirdly sexual and convinces Caroline to eat her with him. And then they bang! So good for them, I guess. Damon tells Lily that since Kai can no longer go back with them, they're gonna have to leave her friends behind because there's only so many people that one witch can bring over at one time. Gets a little funky there because the whole point in Elena and Damon going was that Kai and Bonnie were going. So one witch could bring one, and now suddenly Bonnie can bring Damon, Elena, and Lily. I'm not gonna question it if you're not, but it seems sus to me. Bonnie shows up to the house and she's like, homies, let's go, we gotta run. But Lily disappears and Damon rushes after her to find her giving blood to one of the little vampires. She says she won't leave without them, even though he promised that they would come back. And he's like, girl, we gotta go now. And she's like, you don't understand. These people are my family now. I will not leave them, which that hurts our boy. He says if she doesn't want to come and help Stefan, he will leave her behind and let her rot. Bonnie starts the spell with Elena, and here comes Damon and Lily. They run in so that they can all leave together. We see Kai stumbling through the woods because remember, she stabbed him in the thigh. He calls out to Bonnie. She turns around and sees him. They make eye contact, and she leaves. So he collapses, crying, all alone in the snow, except, guys, he's not alone. Okay, I'd like you to remember who's underneath the house. And what's he doing right now? Bleeding in the woods. This episode is my Vampire Diaries villain origin story. And ironically, it is also his. Hard cut from all of that sadness to Enzo visiting Sarah at the hospital. He tells her that it was a mistake to ever bring her into his life. He's kind of hung up on something Rick said to him earlier, which is that he's lonely and sad and bored, and he should quit playing with humans like they're toys. So that's resonated with him, and he's working on it. But he also tells her that her real name is Sarah Salvatore with a little smirk. So that's a bit worrying. Joe is fixing Rick, and she's like, listen to me, my guy, you need to behave for at least the next 18 years, and then you can go back to being a vampire hunter, all right? But I need you to raise this child with me, okay? And he agrees. He's like, 100%, I got you, you got me, we're done, we're in this together, everything's gonna be fine. Back at the Salvatore house in present day, Lily explains to Damon that she really did come back to them the night of her funeral, or the night before her funeral, or how Stefan saw her and he was like, Mommy's ghost came to me and told me she was gonna be okay and everything would be fine. That was actually Lily. But the unfortunate thing was when she went to hug Stefan goodbye, she almost like rippered him. So she ran away, and that's why she stayed away for so long, because she didn't want to hurt the boys. She also says though that she doesn't think she can like be her new self and like be safe to be around unless they bring her family back to her. And Damon is like, I know, Mom, and I promise you we're gonna get them out. We just can't do it yet. We cut back to my boy wandering around the cellar under the house looking for food, because of course he is. But instead, he finds the desiccated vampire tea party. 6 people at that table, and he gets too close to the one vampire that Lily gave a little bit of blood to, and he's like, who are you? And then the guy grabs him by the throat. Kai screams, drops his lantern, we go into darkness. So it's a good day to be me. I'm having a great time. Elena and Damon get cute in the kitchen. She says it's amazing that she got to meet his mom, and that was a whole version of him that she like never even thought she would know. And he's still on the whole like, she's not my mom, I'm not getting attached. She's just how we're gonna get Stefan back. Post hookup, Caroline and Stefan are curled up in front of the fire in her dorm room. This is bad for everyone. Back to the kitchen. This is maybe my favorite kissing scene for Damon and Elena, because all of a sudden, like mid-makeout, he looks over and he goes, oh, hey, Bon Bon. And Bonnie is standing there and she's like, I could have gone my whole life without seeing all of that. Elena runs off to look into the Steph and Caroline situation, so that'll be fun for her when she gets home. Bonnie thanks Damon for helping her find closure. He says that they have to be careful because his mom desperately wants to get her friends out of the prison world, but obviously they left Kai there and they didn't flat out kill him, so he could just live in the 1903 prison world for all they know, and they have to leave him there and not let him back out. She says she has a gift for him from 1994. It's the freaking vampire cure from Nova Scotia. Was anybody prepared for that? Cute though, because this is why those notes in the atlas were there to begin with. While they were in the 1994 world, Damon was planning on going and getting the cure for Elena the whole time. But now, in present day, he's like, what if I don't want to give it to her anymore? And Bonnie, in a shocking turn of events, is like, that's up to you. Like, whether you want to give it to her or not, I got it for you, and now it's your decision. It's not a very Bonnie Bennett thing to say or do, but we're in dark Bonnie era. So she's a little scary right now. She's a little unhinged. She's a little morally dubious. And it looks good on her. We open episode 18 with a bartender at the college bar getting messed with, clearly by vampires. He thinks that it's his friend who also works there, and then the friend's dead body gets thrown down onto a table and he freaks out. Stefan steps out of the shadows and is like, that was so lame. What did you think that was gonna do? Turns out Caroline and Stefan made a bet that Caroline could scare the guy to death, okay? So she compels him into having a heart attack. And while he's like having a heart attack, she's like, oh my God, now you can't breathe. Oh no, now there are spiders crawling all over you. Like, do you feel them? Are you so scared? And so he dies. And she's like, haha, loophole, I won. You know what that means, don't you? And Stefan's like, unfortunately I do. Karaoke. Put these two in a prison world. What is going on? Enzo brings Sarah to the Salvatore house because he is planning on just dropping her off with the boys and then finally leaving. But when they get there, Lily opens the door and Enzo is like, I'm so sorry, I got the wrong house. I'm gonna go, bye. And he just runs. Oh, I mean, sprints. He is terrified. In the car, he's like, I met that woman in 1903. I thought she was gone. She's the one that turned me into a vampire. The plot thickens. Damon and Elena are getting ready for the day together. She's begging him to give his mom a chance. She's like, you have to at least let her try to get to know you again. He's still insisting that he's not gonna get close to her or let her in. She goes looking in one of his drawers for a shirt and he stops her and he's like, here, take this one. So she walks away and it's because he had the vampire cure hidden in his freaking t-shirt drawer. Lily, Damon, and Elena eat breakfast together and it's super hella awkward. Lily asks if Elena ever misses being a human, and Elena's like, I mean, sometimes, but there's nothing that we can do about it. So like, there's no point in dwelling on that. And Lily's like, and if there was something that could be done about it? And Damon's like, shut up, what's wrong with you? Lily changes course and is like, so question, the upcoming full moon, is that enough of a celestial event to go back and get my friends? Before Damon has to answer, Joe calls Elena and is like, girl, people are getting attacked at Whitmore. We have a problem. Enzo tells Sarah all about her vampire family, which basically boils down to, so your good uncle hid you from your bad uncle, but now your good uncle is bad and your bad uncle is kind of good. So I was hoping to leave you with him, but now that lady is there and we're absolutely not going back to that house. Never again. We get a nice fun flashback of Enzo from 1903. He was trying to leave Europe and go to America, but remember he died of consumption. So he's sick and they won't let him on the boat. But then Lily showed up and she killed the guy that kicked him off the boat and then snuck him on with her. And he is a sweet little human man, okay? Sweet boy. He thought she was an angel. So he trusted her and thought she was gonna help him, but then instead, Lily killed everybody on the boat and left him behind. He leans over to compel Sarah into forgetting everything because he thinks it'll be easier and safer, but she's like, joke's on you, idiot boy, and she shoots him up with vervain. Another little side note, y'all remember when Enzo couldn't be taken out with one shot of vervain? This time he can be. I don't know why, and neither do you. Caroline is singing Hit Me With Your Best Shot at the karaoke bar, but it's not a karaoke bar, it's just the same bar in Whitmore, and they've compelled all the people to pay attention and listen. Matt and Tyler come in. Don't forget, these two are training to be police officers. They try to leave, but Stefan forces them to stay. Lily and Damon are heading over to find Stefan. She admits that she accidentally listened in when Bonnie was telling Damon about the cure. She apologizes and she's like, I'm just not used to hearing other people's voices. So like, of course I listened, I didn't mean to. She points out what he already knows, which is that like, if he gives it to her, what if Elena doesn't love him anymore once she's a human? She's also super hung up on getting her little vampire friends back. Joe and Elena are at the hospital trying to cover up Caroline and Stefan's attacks, but it's getting really hard because the bodies just keep piling up. Elena's like, I know this is horrible, Joe. I'm so sorry we're putting you through this. I really hope that Damon and his mom can get this figured out soon. And Joe is like, oh, rewind. His mom? Elena tells her about the 1903 prison world and how they took Lily out and left Kai behind, and Joe was like, oh my god, incredible news, thank you so much for doing that. This is when she tells Elena she's pregnant. Elena is like so happy, but also clearly deeply wounded by this news. Enzo wakes up tied up in Sarah's dorm room. She went through his phone, so now she knows about the whole Enzo-Matt situation, so she's just pissed that she ever trusted him at all because he's been lying to her the whole time. He says he's sorry and that he remembers what it was like to be so naive. Go back to another Enzo flashback. He's now with a doctor, with Lily on the boat. She's paying for everything. There is nothing the doctor can do. There's no cure, so Enzo's dying. So she tells Enzo about how she also died of consumption, and so he just is like, oh my god, you're an angel. Stefan and Caroline empty out the bar, and then Caroline starts playing Caroline trivia with Matt and Tyler since they both dated her. Tyler gets her birthday right, October 10th, so she's a Libra. That makes perfect sense to me. Matt gets her favorite color correct, which is that she doesn't have a favorite color, trick question. The tiebreaker is, what was my mom's final memory before she died? But obviously, Tyler and Matt don't know the answer to that. So they're like, girl, what? Stefan waltzes in and was like, oh my god, the English department needs a new TA. Also, it was your mom teaching you how to ride a bike, bestie. Which means, unfortunately, that Tyler and Matt lost the game, and now they can both be killed, because those were the rules. Back to Joe and Elena, they have another moment where they're just looking at all the victims, and it's like very horrifying. It looks like a wildcat just went through the town. Elena says that she's not even surprised that they've done all of this because she remembers what it was like being emotionless. And now there's always a part of her that's kind of freaking out that at any moment she could do this again. Joe is like, yeah, girl, and also you freaked out when I told you that I was pregnant, so you should really talk about these like vampire fears with your boyfriend. Elena says that Damon knows exactly how she feels, but there's no way of changing anything, so what can they do? Sarah and Enzo are still bonding in her dorm room. She opens up to him about how she's always been fascinated by death. Another flashback of Lily taking care of Enzo while he's dying. He says that nobody ever took care of him. He was abandoned at 4 years old, and he's just been alone on his own ever since. She says she knows all about being alone because her husband sent her away to a sanitarium so she could die and he wouldn't have to watch. She explains vampirism, but in like a, I got better and now I have this perfect life and this lovely family, and if you also want to be better, I could help you and then you could be part of our family and you'd never be alone again. She gives him her blood, but he is dying, okay? So he doesn't really give full consent. He doesn't understand what he's saying yes to. Lily and Damon are looking for Stefan, but they haven't found him yet. She's starting to get really nervous, and she's like, what if it's not enough and I'm not able to bring him back, and then you won't help me get my friends? Damon's just kind of tired of her, and he's like, look, just channel whatever it was you were feeling when you came back for us in 1903. And Lily is like, awkward. I wasn't coming back for you. That's not what I was doing in America. I'm so sorry. She says she's so sorry that she hurt both of them, but she was so burdened by the fact that she missed them and the fear of like what she would do if she went back for them, that she sort of just had to let it all go and like start over with that new group of vampires, and they became her family. And then somewhere along the way she forgot how to like love and care for the boys because she just had to let that part of herself go. Damon is understandably very upset by this. Caroline flips a coin to see if she should kill Tyler or Matt first, but Tyler slaps the coin out of her hand before she can see what it says. Then Tyler snaps and like starts breaking chair legs and trying to attack them. Matt is trying to get him to calm down, and Stefan is like, I love that you're so stupid, you dumb little wolf boy. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fight both of us? Bring it on. Tyler attacks Caroline, but she grabs Matt, so Tyler just ends up stabbing Matt in the stomach. Damon and Elena talk, and she is horrified that his mom was basically like, I don't love you anymore. And Damon's like, it's not even like it matters because we're not gonna help her get her friends anyway, so who cares? Lily tries to leave because she's like, I can't do this, I'm gonna screw it up. Damon convinces her and lies again about going to get her friends, but he does also give her the ascendant as like a sign of good faith. Sarah's confused on why Enzo would ever have gotten mad at Lily and like not been happy that she gave him immortality, but he explains that he woke up alone on the ship and she never warned him about the hunger. So once he turned completely, he was just abandoned, and this life that she'd promised him and this new family was just gone. Obviously, we know it's because the Geminis snatched her and her friends and sent them away, but Enzo doesn't know that. He just thinks she left. Back in the present, in his dorm room, Enzo snaps out of his little restraints because what were they gonna do? It was like zip ties, okay? It was nothing for him. So he was just humoring her. He tells her that he's going to compel her anyway into forgetting everything. They just have to wait for the vervain to leave her system. Tyler is freaking out at the grill because if Matt dies, his werewolf curse gets triggered. Thought we were done with that. We're not. Damon and Lily walk in unexpectedly, and Stefan just turns around and is like, Damon sends Tyler and Matt away so that they can get Matt help. Caroline stabs Stefan and then runs away so that they can't capture her to make him turn her emotions back on once his get turned back on. Tyler gets Matt to the hospital so that Elena can heal him, but Matt refuses Elena's blood and says he only wants Joe and Joe can fix him or he dies. Lily pulls out the stake from Stefan's back. He obviously knows she's a vampire since she hasn't aged a day since the last time he saw her, but she tells him, I'm also a ripper. So he inherited the gene, so she immediately takes some of his guilt away because she's like, this thing that's wrong with you didn't come from you, I gave it to you, you got it from me. She explains that she left to keep herself from hurting him, but she really did go back and say goodbye, and that's that memory he has of her, and it was real. Then we hear Damon talking. So he freaking coached her, okay guys? Everything she's saying is what Damon told her to say. She says that she wished she could have been there to see Stefan grow into a young man. She wished she'd protected him from his father's temper. She says she was too ashamed by her actions, and then by the time she was ready to come back and get them, the Geminis showed up and sent her to the prison world. But the one thing that got her through it was the hope that one day she'd see her boys again. She ends it by being like, there are no words to make up for what happened to us, but at least we have all of eternity to try. Your angel has returned to you, and she will never leave you again. Stefan's crying, I'm crying, we're all crying. So he turns his emotions back on and hugs his mom. But then over his shoulder, we see Damon like watching Lily being like, yes, I'm a good brother. I knew exactly what to do. I'm the smartest man alive. So Stefan's big boy sad now, just brooding over everything that happened. Damon is like, you get one night to go be moody and do what you need to do, and then you have to go after Caroline. And Stefan's like, I don't need a night. I'll go get her right now. And he runs off. Matt is alive thanks to Joe, but Elena is like, I want to know why you didn't want my blood. Why didn't you let me help you? He says that he's almost died too many times and he didn't want to risk becoming a vampire. He basically feels like he can't hate vampires and say that about himself and want to fight them, but then use them when it's to his advantage. Like he can't have both. It's a pretty fair take for him, honestly, but it sucks for her. Enzo checks Sarah for vervain and then prepares to compel everything away from her, but she stops him and is basically like, if I promise not to go after the Salvatores, will you please let me keep my memories? And he agrees. Damon walks up to Elena and is like, Matt's alive, Stefan's handling Caroline, and I just showed Mom how to use an Uber. And she goes, I want to throw Joe a baby shower. Elena goes on and on about how Joe and Rick having a baby is like the best news they've had in a really long time. She reacted with jealousy initially, but she wants to make sure that they know how happy she is for them. So she's struggling with the guilt of being jealous and also the deep sadness of never having like a traditional family unit, but also she gets a life with Damon, so she's pretty happy. He's like, what if things were different? She says they're not and they can't be, so it doesn't matter. They say I love you and go to kiss, but then the phone rings. Joe meets them at the hospital. She says she called her dad to be like, hey dad, guess who's gone again? But instead of being excited, he was like, the 1903 prison world? Oh, where is the Ascendant? It must be destroyed. That's tough because Damon was an idiot and he already gave it to Lily. While Joe explains everything, we see Lily back in the Salvatore house messing with the Ascendant. So Joe explains that before the 1900s, Lily got hooked up with a group of witches that were outcasted from the Gemini coven. They called themselves heretics, okay? They are siphons like Kai, but they're vampires also. They're my favorite creatures in the Vampire Diaries universe. Top tier, my favorites. So because of the way the siphon power works, they can just siphon from themselves because being a vampire is a magical thing and they just have a constant source of power. How sick and twisted is that? I love it. Like genius, big brain move on Lily's part to turn all of them. Like she was thinking, she was on to something. So in 1903, they were not coming back to get Damon and Stefan. They were coming back to destroy the Gemini coven. Joe goes, imagine Kai with the bloodlust of a vampire. Now imagine 6 of them. Show me. When do I get to see it? Let me tell you, 2018 me heard absolutely nothing but we're giving Kai fangs. Vampire Kai is coming. And I was frothing at the mouth. I was like, where is he? When? Give him over. Let me look at him. What? Oh my God. Are you, what? 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. The emotional whiplash is so real. Like I went from so distraught in episode 17, okay, dealing with all of that, to the hypest I've ever been in my life. Vampire Kai. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's gossip session. Welcome to December. If you enjoyed, don't forget to give the video a like and comment down below. I love talking to you guys each week. All things considered, you guys have been really nice down below in the comments. I'm sure some of you are tired of me gushing about Kai, but thank you for putting up with it because I put up with season 5 so we could get to this point. We've both given a lot, okay? We're both being very patient with each other. Next week, we'll be finishing up season 6, and I am also working on another Throne of Glass installment for you guys. I have to get those done. I have 2 months now to get those done before CC3 comes out. We're gonna do it. I believe in us, okay? We can do this together. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.